does carry a little bit more weight than just having a goal. One of the things that hit me while preparing for the lesson and stuff today was how last week he talked about the importance of goal-less thinking. Um, and let me see. Okay. Um,
As opposed
Goal-less
to
thinking.
systems.
Right, right. And so goalless thinking he was getting at was saying was the problem with goalless or the problem with setting goals is that once we set the goal, we have the tendency to stop because we've reached our destination. I hear a lot of quotes on social media about the importance of the journey versus the destination, and the importance of the journey as it relates to continuing after you've reached the destination, because you don't want to just have one victory. You don't want to just have that victory, celebrate that victory, get that trophy, reach that milestone, and then revert back to whatever behaviors, activities, habits that you did prior to preparing to get to that destination. And I feel like, just like he was emphasizing the importance of not setting one goal in particular, this idea of having an identity has the power to exceed um, any type of goal that we are setting for ourselves, because if we identify as something, then that means that we will likely be doing that not only for weeks, months, or years to come, but likely decades, right? This is who I am. This is not something I do. I'm thinking of the quote that everyone says is, it's not on me, it's in me, right? This is who I am. I'm not just doing this for a season. I don't just do this for a short period of time, but this is who I am. This is what I do. And this is going to be part of me, period. If you're going to see me, you can expect this, you can expect that. And that, I think, was really key in this chapter in particular.
Yeah,
Um,
that resonated with me. It made me pause for a minute. It made me really reflect about my habits and what what I have set up as my identity up to this point.
right, right. hmm hmm I was even listening to Kendrick Lamar's "To Pimp a Butterfly" album this morning a little bit, and there's a quote in there where Dr. Dre says, "You came over and you said that you wanted to have a spot like mine," and he said the easy thing to do is to get this. He said the hard part is keeping it. And that even again resonated so much with what this chapter is getting at, because it goes, are you just going to get here? Are you just going to get a single and, get a lump sum of money one time? Or are you going to do what's necessary to be able to stay here, to be able to get to this top of this mountain, so to speak, and stay at the top of the mountain? Which of course is just definitely not a simple thing or a linear action, but it is to say, if this is who you are, we can call you in 10 years and ask you the same question: what have you done around this? And you'll say, well, this is what I'm working on. This is what I do. I don't know nothing else. I write rhymes, right? Or I play basketball, or whatever it is that we say that we do. This is what I do, through and through. I'm like, and my identity is wrapped in it. And so he also brought up the word, which I thought was really important, was pride. Because I take pride in what I do, because I take pride in this identity that I'm setting up for myself, I do this a little bit more heavily. I do this a little bit more frequently. I do this with a different energy than someone who says, oh, I'm trying. I don't do this a lot. This is like kind of new to me. This is just what I'm doing for now. It's not my identity. I'm somebody else. I'm trying something new, versus this is actually who I am. Does that make sense? Let's see.
Oh yeah,
hmm
been
hmm
doing this radio and television thing since I got out of my mother's clutches in 1985 when I finally got out of the house. I snuck around
Mm-hmm.
the corner to the radio station, the local radio station. I don't know how I found out. It was right around the corner from me. I was on, all I had was an AM FM radio.
Mm-hmm.
And, I must have, I mean, I did my homework. I did my journalism early before I knew I was a journalist. But yeah, it does have to be something that you feel like you're at the top of, and not in the sense of it's how society sees you at the top, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So things can change around you. Things can change with the industry or with your family life. Things around you can change, but you're still where you want to be, in a place of
Mm-hmm.
joy and pleasure and satisfaction. And that is the top, the pinnacle in your perspective, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, but not generally speaking. At the,
Mm-hmm.
I've never been a part of the crowd or any cliques, and I don't ever want to be. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
be what society expects from me and or thinks is the top, you know.
Right.
And so I just wanted to, and that goes back to now chapter two's identity and the three, what is it? The three phases of three layers of behavior change.
Right. Right.
For me, I had to change uh, from being like everybody else. When I was younger, I realized it's about me and what I think is the top.
Right. 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 Yeah. And so, I was, again, when I was talking to Naya, I think one of the things that I did start believing when I was younger was, I'm an artist. I am a hip hop head. I remember having those types of thoughts. And when it came to what it also started to produce were ways that I had to not only prove it to other people, but also how I had to prove it to myself, right? Whenever I saw other people who were more knowledgeable about certain artists or they had heard certain things before I heard about it, I'm like, wait, I didn't know they dropped an album. I'd be like, oh shoot, I gotta, I gotta go do my homework. I gotta get back on it. I have to, again, prove to some degree to myself that I am who I say I am. If I said that I do this and I do this on the regular, this is who I am. I am challenged by other people who do the same thing. I am challenged by other people who have varied or differing opinions than I do about a certain subject matter. Because what I'm saying is that I am one of those people that wants to be an authority on the issue, an authority on the matter. And so I start to feel different about what I'm seeing as it relates to myself. Even when I think about the fitness stuff that we have talked about, what comes up is even when we quote unquote fall off or we don't do something for a period of time, it hits different when somebody else brings it up, right? Say, hey man, I haven't seen you work out in a minute. Like everything cool. And it's like, dang, you know what? You know what? You are absolutely
You're at a different point in your um, relationship with your fitness journey. I mean, you're at a place where
mhm,
you are aware of what you're going through. There are times when you do
right.
need to stop down and you need to do a check, a self check, an assessment. You really do need to maybe go to another professional if you're not seeing results, to get information on how to get to that next level, or that deeper place, or so it's a journey for all of us. And people challenged me as the first female hip hop DJ on the air in Northern California because I was a woman. I had that
Mhm, mhm.
challenge, like, what are you doing here? She's a groupie amongst all these. No, I
Mm,
was a program director at the radio station. I
right,
decided
right.
how the conversations were going to go on the air. I mean, I had a deeper level of involvement in the whole hip hop movement, and I've
Mm,
never been. on the cover of a magazine or interviewed to a degree where people even know how much I know about hip hop or my relationships with the main players in
Right,
the whole
right.
industry. People have no clue. They have no
Hmm.
clue. When Sway sees me and Sway breaks through a crowd of people surrounded around him just to come and bow down, literally bow his head to me, then
Wow.
they know a
Right.
little something like, wait a minute, what is it?
Wait, what just happened? What just happened?
Right?
Who was that?
But see, and sometimes you don't even, you that challenge is always going to be there, but the 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 most important challenge is, with yourself. I really believe that.
Right. Right. Now I hear that. I hear that. And so yeah, it's definitely a big thing for us proving it to ourselves, believing it in ourselves. I do want to hear from you, Atisha. Is there anything that resonates about that with you in terms of ways you've identified and how, because you identified a certain way, it pushed you to embrace certain habits or do things a certain way because it became who you are versus just something that you were doing?
Um, well, the just reading the book and seeing how the progressiveness of small things could change. I have
Hmm.
noticed how putting those little habits into small things in my life, how I have seen the outcome. But it made more sense to put things into perspective for me that aha moment probably will never come. You just got to keep working, making those small steps towards your goals.
Hmm.
And so the book just put a different perspective on it for me. So I can't really answer that right now,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
that's just what I got on.
Right, right. Cool, cool. Well, yeah, it's definitely important that we continue to employ certain habits again in order for results, for us to have our miracle moments, if you will, or have uh, our times of explosive growth, which I like to call when, again, Steph Curry wasn't amazing as he is in college, but it happened well into his NBA career. Whereas some people can start off their NBA career doing very well. You just never know when that's going to happen. But if you are continually putting in the work, making the effort to become better, um, those types of things can definitely happen for you. Yes, become the best version of yourself. I hear that. So I'm going to read this. I do want us to get to the quiz and again try to get to this before Mr. Brookter hops on. Um, what I do want to say, Naya, if you can reach out to either Nancy or Mwangi and let me know if they respond at all. Again, I just don't want them to miss one the quiz, but I definitely don't want them to miss Mr. Brookter talking.
Okay. I'll reach out to them.
Okay, thank you. Um, okay, so I need you guys to take some notes. Take some notes if you can get paper. If you need to, you could just write on your phone. But take notes on this paragraph. This is going to include a number of the answers for the quiz. If you pay close attention, you should be good. Um, let's give you a second. Get a sip of this water. Um, all right, so it goes like this. It goes like this. This week in the book Atomic Habits, James Clear talked about the importance of identity when it comes to developing new habits. He talks about how goals change outcomes, systems change processes, and identity changes beliefs. I'll actually repeat that because I know it's a meaty sentence. He talks about how goals change outcomes, systems change processes, and identity changes beliefs. This is key because who we think we are matters something more than what we do. When you identify as a certain type of person, you start to want to prove it to yourself. Our beliefs about ourselves help us to create priorities and they drive action. Again, our beliefs about ourselves help us to create priorities and drive action. The two-step process, therefore, requires that we decide who we want to be, which is the first thing, and two, then prove it to ourselves. If we want to be in shape, for instance, we want to ask ourselves questions like, what would a healthy person do? He mentions this in the book, and it was something that the person in the book asked themselves hourly, not just once a day or once a week, but ask themselves that throughout the day. What would a healthy person do? Lastly, beliefs involve a certain sense of pride. When we have a certain belief about ourselves, we don't feel ourselves when we aren't representing that type of person well. Beliefs make the difference between just having something and becoming someone. Completely different between having something and becoming someone. If we focus on reaching a goal, when we may stop working once we reach it. Yeah, if we focus on a goal, we may stop working when we reach it. But if it is who we are more likely to keep working well after that goal has been reached. Why just have or why just win one championship when you can win again and again and again? Okay. Before I give you guys the quiz questions, does anyone have any questions? Anyone have any questions? Right.
I'm looking at the quiz right now, Jermaine, and the first question, well, it's multiple choice,
Mhm.
and the first question is kind of confusing. I'm looking at it here, how it's laid out. So it says goals change, systems change,
Mhm.
identity changes and
Mhm.
there are blanks after each one. Oh,
Correct.
I see. And then there are three choices. Okay, I see. I got it. Okay, got it.
Okay. It's all good. So yeah, um, a big thing is that yeah, some of them are going to have more than one answer for for one choice, and so that one is a little different than the rest of them, but the rest should be pretty smooth. The link is also here in the private chat if anyone needs to see it there. The link to the quiz.
And let me just say that what I put into the chat is just based on what we're talking about. I just like to repeat ideas and statements that we're making in the middle of our conversations, just as a way for me to look at them and read them and really comprehend. It's just my way of learning.
Okay. No, that sounds good. Again, I'm glad for the interaction. That works out. Looks like Nancy will be a little late. So we'll see if she is able to hop on.
I'm not good at memory, and that's why I have to see things. And so, back to that first question again. When I
Mhm.
look at these words, I see beliefs, processes, outcomes repeated in just different and that's too much for my
Order.
brain. That's like,
Uh-huh.
it's just like, I would rather just go over it rather than trying to make me memorize at 59 years old after bearing two children. And, I'm not going to memorize it in the right order, but maybe
Mhm.
the ideas, really, really focusing on the truth. Just give me the truth. Don't expect me to memorize stuff in the, but that's why I dropped out of high school and
Mhm.
became the first college graduate, because that game of you got to memorize it the way it's said and the way it's done. I'm not down with that. I don't like that. So
Okay.
I rebel against it, and it's too much for me to think about at this stage in my life. I'm trying to,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to keep it real. I'm not gonna memorize it in the order of how it was actually said. So, but I'm gonna do
Okay.
my best here. Okay.
Cool, cool. All right. Well, Tisha has a meeting with her supervisor. All right. All right. And again, Mr. Brookter should be hopping on pretty soon. So let's wrap it up to the best of our abilities. Right. Can be.
What would Jesus do? I love that question. Uh, I'm done. I submitted it. Okay. Let's see. 35 out of 35. Hey. I believed in myself.
Interesting. I do see that my mic is muted. I don't know how that happened. Okay, so let me speak to that one more time then. So when we change an identity, what I'm acknowledging is that an identity comes with a series of habits. An identity changes not only one particular thing that we're trying to accomplish, but it indeed changes a number of things that we're trying to accomplish because it becomes who we are. And when it becomes who we are, it influences everything from where we shop. It influences what we buy. It influences how we dress. It influences our time schedule, right? It influences what we spend our time doing, the types of events that we go to, the types of things that we want to learn, right? It may influence and even impact, what type of major we want to have in college, right? The things that we want to, what type of jobs that we want to have. All of these things start to come, if you will, out of, right? Definitely how people feel about us. But it all comes out of this identity, right? So when we've come to a place, this is my identity, all these things start to begin to either be shaken up or slowly but surely start to come together because an identity changes a number of things about us and not just one particular habit or goal. Awesome. 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 How's it going, Mr. Brichter?
I am doing well, doing well. How are you guys? Hey, Alicia.
Good.
Good.
Hello.
We are good. We actually were just discussing the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, trying to give some people also some time to get on. We do have some folks that can't make it today, but I did let them know that one, you will be speaking, and two, that if they have any questions, they could make sure they have them today for you if there's anything that they want to get some advice about.
Okay, no, that works perfectly. And apologies for being a little bit late. Another new platform for me.
Right.
It took me a while to log in, and then I'm also not in the office as well too. So I think it works out perfectly. I have 11:30 meeting, so I'm actually in the lobby of that session right now. So it's all good. So how you doing, Alicia? How's the experience been? How you feeling?
It's good. I wanted this experience from the very beginning. I don't know why I wasn't accepted from the very beginning. I'm like, hello, I'm over here. Like, I've been wanting to be a part of a lot of these capacity building opportunities, and it always seems to just get past me, So I was really happy to hear that there was room for me. So I let it go because I didn't expect to be doing it. So I had some other things come up and I started planning a whole nother chapter in my life. And so I'm finding a way to fit it in and it's been helpful. I will say that it is reminding me of um, who I am. It's reinforcing a lot of my systems and beliefs. And and that's because at this age in my life, I really want to make sure that I'm accomplishing things and not slowing down at all. Because I definitely feel like I just want to stop, go retire in Jamaica, and just forget the rest of the world, right? But I still have a few more years to go in this work game or this work life. I'm still learning. I still have my grandson here in the States and my son's here. So I still have some work to do here before I can just, you know, retire. And so this is helping. This is helping motivate me for sure.
Good, good. No, I'm happy to hear it. Jermaine, Naya, Alicia, was there anything that like specific that you wanted me to touch on? I can share with you all. I have a personal relationship with Alicia as well too, just like with Will. Um, so anything that I can share or you all shared with him that I would be sharing, please feel free to let me know.
Awesome. So honestly, one thing that has come up that we would definitely like some insight on is tips around the fundraising. I know that has come up with at least two, maybe three. Yeah, I would say at least three of our participants. Like, how do we get the funding? There has been a question around, of course, like the grant writing process, but also I know that when communicating with donors, that has also come up as well. Mwangi in particular brought up to me how he is wondering if he's communicating it effectively to his donors, especially because it can be hard to communicate to people who don't get it immediately because of their culture and the differences. And so that has come up as well.
Yeah, that'd almost be a full day. I think well, starting off with who kind of your donor base is, right? Or actually taking a step back further is understanding your organization, the programs, and the folks that you serve. Like, that's the start. I think it's always interesting when I talk to folks about, fundraising and writing grants and proposals and going after funding. I share with them over time it's gotten easier because 12 years in, I really understand who we are and what we do as an organization, right? And it's always staying true to your mission. I can share, when you first begin your journey, it's also about being outside. And what I mean by that is, Alicia, as you know, me and Alicia are at an event together. Like, as people start hearing your name and understanding what you and your organization do, it's really about building that network of individuals who talk about you when you're not even around. That's another thing that I've really learned is, as I've gone to meetings and conferences and other folks' events and handing out cards and the coffees, that's how, and when we're talking about the work, like, that's how you begin to kind of build that network for fundraising. Because we're now in a space, and I share, when I fundraise, it's not fundraising to me. It's really me telling the story of our organization, what we do, how we do it, and believing in it so much that folks are just like, we want to be a part of it, right? So it's almost like a reverse sale sometimes. I meet with a donor or funder and ask them, like, what are the things you guys are looking at? What types of challenges are you guys trying to solve with the funds that you have, at your philanthropic group or at your corporation or at this city department? And then it's like, oh, well, guess what? We also happen to be doing something very similar that you guys can tap into, and almost having them feel as if they came up with the idea around what you're already doing.
Right.
They're kind of a tip and something tactful that I got from a friend of mine. But honestly, the biggest thing is just having that belief in the organization, belief in self, to have those conversations. It's actually interesting, and Jermaine and folks on my development team, Alicia, they'll tell you, when I go into meetings, 8 out of 10 times I don't even go in with an ask, right? I just know the work that we do, funds are going to come with it. We're going to find those funders who understand what we do and how we do it. But I also show them as well too. I'm a big proponent of transparency, so I also do tours for our funders as well too. Like, I can show you better than I can tell you what it is that we do at our organization, right? Because nobody likes to get talked at. It can get a little bit boring and laborious, over time. And then the other thing, that I've found out over time is most people will fund organizations and people that they like, right? So that's that relationship part. And 2, folks that do what they're supposed to do with the funding. That's huge. Everybody runs around and says, how do I go get the funds? And I would ask, well, do you have your house in order first? Are you even able to take on this amount of money that you're asking for? 1. 2, can you produce what you say you're going to produce when asking for these funds? Like, I think that's a very difficult thing for a lot of people to look themselves in the mirror. Folks come in and it's like, hey, we have organizations like this. I've been doing work in community, and they should give me $300,000 to run this program because that's what it's going to cost. but then they don't understand how to invoice. They don't
Mm.
understand about just the systems in which you have to submit your information into. So it's like there's some steps and things that through Level Up, which is why I wanted to make sure that we were a part of it and we were doing this. Alicia, was a lot of things that like I didn't even necessarily know. So it's like now that you know, let's create a system, let's create a cohort where we can give this knowledge back. But that's where a lot of folks have a difficult time, especially breaking into, especially the city funding. Like most folks, when they apply for city the first time, may not get the funding because it's like I've been around for a year and I don't really know the inner workings of the city. And they generally will tell folks to come find a fiscal sponsor, somebody who's been doing it. But what I found with some of my colleagues is that we would be a fiscal sponsor, but we weren't doing the teaching and the education to say, hey, I don't want to be your fiscal sponsor forever, but these are the things you're going to need to have in order to go after funding, at least on the city side. I can also share you want to also make sure you have a very diverse portfolio. And what I mean by that is at YCD, when I got here, 97% of our funds was coming from the city and county of San Francisco.
Hmm.
Now it's great because you get a contract from the city. It could be for a year, it could be 3 years, it could be 5 years, which is great. You get 5 years worth of funding. Folks got jobs. You're going to be able to impact X amount of folks in community. But what happens over time is things with the economy, legislation changes. We get new folks in office that have different thoughts on who should be department heads. Departments start saying we want to fund other things. And so you're kind of at the behest of that system. So you never want to put all your eggs in one basket. So I definitely say the diversification of your portfolio. So having philanthropy dollars, having corporate dollars, hand to hand donation in dollars. One of the things that we also as an organization have an opportunity on is the hand to hand donations. We don't do an annual event. We did our 50-year anniversary, but we didn't have an event before that. And I think it was like the 35th. So if you do some sort of annual fundraising event, that also gives you visibility. But folks know I can go to this event every year and be able to donate as a way to make sure that you diversify your portfolio.
Nice, nice.
I know I threw a lot out there, Alicia. Did anything like
Oh
pop?
no,
No.
you know, and you just again, this Level Up program is really reinforcing and solidifying, really giving me the credibility that I know I have, that a lot of people don't know I have, right?
Right.
But there are some missing parts. And you mentioned, for me, one of the missing parts is building my network, where people talk about me when I'm not around. Now, that happens for me, in the world of media, but not in the
Mhm.
world of nonprofit media, because this nonprofit media business is new. It's what I've created. There's no one else doing this.
Right.
And people ask me all the time, why do you have a nonprofit media organization? And I just tell them, look at the PBS model, look at the NPR model. It works.
Mm.
Just, and I leave it at that.
That's
But
right.
because I'm a Black woman doing it, and I'm doing it in a city where there's not much support for us Black people, generally speaking, I won't say that there's no support. There is support for us in San Francisco, but I came upon it by accident, just like the funders. All of my diverse portfolio funding, I have it. And now that you mention it, I had to think about it. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, my first funder was Adobe. My second was the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce, and now the San Francisco Human Rights Commission. I've never written grants before, but the very first RFQ that I wrote for, I received it. And then they doubled the amount in less than 6 months because I delivered in less than 6 months. And then they went and gave me another. I mean, so
Right, right.
I like being transparent about that, because some things can happen if and how and who you are and what your network is and what you do and how you do it and all of that. All of what you're saying really matters, and also adding value to others. It sounded like you were kind of talking about a quid pro quo situation where you're going to not go in asking for something, but go in delivering something, go in with the idea of collaborating and just sharing what you have to share.
And I'm like that with our CBO partners as well too. I'm just look, it's folks that are again, for transparency, folks that are in this nonprofit space, right? We're supposed to, not even supposed to be is the right word. You're supposed to be about community and doing the community work. And when you do the work, to your point, you just proved the point. They gave me funding to do something and gave me a year to do it. I did it in 6 months. Of course, they should fund you because you were doing what you said you were going to do. That's being a good steward. And so we see what's going on across the news with a lot of our nonprofit organizations. But I always tell folk, especially young folk, I'm like, look, if you do the work, everything else will come. Do the work well, everything else will come. The funding will come, the notoriety, if that's what you're looking for, will come. But the community gets better when we do the work. So do the work and make sure you have your house tight, and everything else will come. That you're spot on, and I'm happy for you. They should give you more funding if you're ready to take it on. They absolutely should, because I've seen what you've been able to produce.
I mean, and that's what I'm able to produce is just the tipping point. It's just a small piece. Imagine what I've done for Cron 4 television and Cron On. I launched Cron On single-handedly. There were two other producers working on it who could not get it out of a place where they didn't know how to. They didn't know much about machine learning and automating or coding for an automated system. And so, and I had never coded before. I taught myself how to code while I was launching Chrono. So I was able to do that and then launch. But there are some things that we can do that are extraordinary given the opportunity to do it. I need more funding. I can handle budgets, but there are people in place who believe that we cannot handle money, right?
Mm.
Ran a nationally accredited child care business where I was contracted with Travis Air Force Base. Okay. I've run so many businesses. My mother and I grew up in Union Square. My mother had her own salon at Post and Grant in the Brooks Brothers building. I was a teenager growing up in my mom's Black owned business, full service salon, hair, nails, skincare, all of that with elite clientele. But when people don't know that about you, when you don't have that relationship, or if people take it as you bragging and trying to be better than, or you're this and that, you're from that, and they don't believe you, it's something about being believed and having the credibility. And I'm not down with trying to prove who I am. And I think that's one of those gaps for me, that the networking and the trying to prove who I am and being a part of the social scene. I have to find a way to connect with funders in a different kind of a way. And I just don't know what it's going to be.
But I love that though. I mean, just to even be a sounding board to hear that it doesn't have to be the traditional way. Even at YCD, that's why I implemented. We have mixers that we do quarterly, where it's an opportunity to basically go have happy hour with folks that fund us. Gets us from behind a computer. Half the time, I don't even talk to them about work. It's like, who are you? And why do you do the funding that you do? Because I'm more of a people person. And I think, and that's kind of been the evolution. Before, when I first started, it was going out to the events and talking about YCD, what we do and how we do it, to where now it's the social events, but I'm getting to know folks on a deeper level, right? Which is also dope because with the network, some of these folks have moved. Like, for instance, I have a colleague who was working at the San Francisco Foundation who now works for the Crankstar Foundation. So if they already knew my work, or they knew our work at San Francisco Foundation. So now being at this other foundation, as they are going through their portfolio and what they're funding, and they say workforce, it's like, oh, I know an organization that I've already worked with, right? So it's definitely that piece. But no, you find your niche and really also being authentic in who you are when you show up to these spaces to be able to develop that relationship. But I really think now the traditional ways of doing things are so different. I mean, I picked up golf during COVID, right? Like I do things that make me uncomfortable as well too. So you get an opportunity to meet folks in different spaces, and you have a much different dialogue and conversation about who I am and the things that I enjoy doing. But you're spot on. It doesn't have to be I have to go to this mixer event or I should have gone to this gala because there's so many. I mean, we have so many events, and I just try to be strategic, authentic, and innovative on how I connect with folks.
Yeah, my world before funding was actually more broad. I've hosted and emceed at Twitter headquarters, at Microsoft headquarters. You know, I was doing some things that were extraordinary and totally unexpected. But now that I've signed the contract with the city, it feels like I took myself out of one group or out of one arena and put myself in another, and I don't know. I'm conflicted about it. I feel like I'm missing, the outside world, the real world outside of city funding.
Yeah, because you can get plugged in. I kind of reference it to being in the Matrix. When you sit down in that chair, you get plugged in. You just get ready for the download.
Mhm.
It's a lot. It can be a lot, but again, also making sure that you take time for yourself. Though that's something that I'm working on now is giving myself grace. And look, you can't be at every single event. You gotta be able to turn it off and
And then
decompress.
I send my guys out, I send my cameramen out and stuff, and people expect to see me with a camera on my shoulder. I did that a long time ago. I'm not doing that now when I can hire photographers to do it.
And that's the other thing. Like one of the biggest keys to this work is making sure you have really good people around you too. That this
Mm.
just happened yesterday. Literally went to an event, and it was around affordable housing, and I know what I need to know organization wise in affordable housing. But I was there with three team members, and as folks ask me questions, I'm just yeah, talk to them about this project because it's one I just don't have the capacity, but we've been there.
Mhm.
I've been able to do that. So now it's time for other folks to be able to step up and empower them to be able to have those conversations, so they can start their training.
Mhm.
To continue
The
along.
other area for me is with my accounting and really understanding the compliance and making sure that I understand how important an accountant is or a bookkeeper, someone who can really set things up, my annual statements and all of those things that I really, really have to have. Those basic requirements of running or operating your nonprofit
Yes.
smoothly. Can you just
Yes.
go down a quick little list?
About how to run it smoothly.
I mean, just with those, I mean, there are some fundamentals that you have to have. Of course, your status as a nonprofit with the Secretary of State needs to be current and in compliance.
Yep.
With the IRS, just really quickly.
Yep. I would love to do it quickly, but I'll be honest with you. We have a list up. So I don't know if Jermaine provided you guys with that, but Tavare in our fiscal office, Alicia, actually created an entire list of what folks
I
should
need
have.
that list.
Yes, so we'll make sure you guys all get it. I mean, I was at least blessed, of course, and I apologize for the folks are starting to come in. I think we'll just open. But yeah, there are, I mean, starting off with the very most essential thing when starting a nonprofit organization is definitely, filing with the state, making sure that you get your EIN number. But in order to do that, you also have to formulate and create a board of directors, which I think is that's like the start. I'm meeting folks who, started their nonprofits and, first board members are like two friends or something like that, that now are kind of bumping into, well, now I'm wanting to grow and I'm being asked to do more, but I don't have the oversight and infrastructure to be able to do it. So that's like fundamentally like the most important. Making sure you have a board, a good board, and you let them know exactly what it is that you need them to do, because they're the folks that are also fiduciarily responsible for the organization alongside the individual who's running the organization. Like I said, making sure you have your EIN, and then from then, just really being able to create um, a plan around how you want to grow. I think that's the other thing, is not taking on too much too soon without having that infrastructure that's put into place. And of course, every organization is going to be a little bit different, because I think it depends on your skill set. With me coming to YCD, it had already been here for, at the time, you know, 37 years. So there were some things that we had in place. We had a controller, we had, of course, our EI, like we had all of those things taken care of. So when I came in, it was about just really utilizing for me my business background to say we probably need a few more folks in fiscal. We needed to have a human resources director. I want to have a business development director actually help me go get funds, so it's not just me doing it, right? But all of these things that I thought about, all the things that I thought about were things I thought about like 9 years ago that just now are coming to fruition. So
Mm.
also having the patience and the perseverance um, to be able to kind of see it through as well. And the thing about it too is I really think that there's no real blueprint, to really how to
Right,
do
because I don't have a board, and I don't want a board.
Mm.
And
and
I,
that's like
I don't,
that's like
I
one of the
don't
little requirements. Yeah, they won't allow you to apply for funds if you don't have board members that you can share.
I have one secretary, and I'm the treasurer, and that's it. And but if I want to do more now, see, oversight, and adding more to the fund, yeah, will require more
Yeah.
board members.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. But Jermaine, I'm gonna feel free. Like I said, Alicia, make sure we get them all. That document. And I apologize, I can't stick around for a little bit longer. But any
Thank you.
questions folks have, or if I don't know how many more sessions you guys have, I'm always happy to come back as well too.
Okay.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Cool. Sounds good.
I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks for your time.
Of course.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
that's good.
um, yes, I'm actually again taking notes on what he was just discussing. One, definitely wish that he would have been able to stay longer. But even what I am thinking about, and Naya, if you can pull up the link for Vanessa's board of directors uh, training that we did with her. She does talk about how she started off the board of directors that she had when she first started, and how she developed it over the long haul. She's been the ED of an organization, I believe it's maybe 13 to 14 years now. Um, but starting off, like he just mentioned, a couple of friends or a couple of relatives, a little mixture of people that are just pretty much just going to be there to go, sounds good to me, right? To
That's
start
not what I
getting,
have.
oh, okay. Well,
No, that's not what I have.
um,
I have I have my longtime business partner where we started at San Francisco State University together doing this media work. So he is an official board member, but I have not appointed him as such. And
mhm,
then I
mhm.
have a secretary who's been with me from day one, and then myself. So
Right, right. But even again, just to speak to what Vanessa had, was that as time progressed, then she started to get more and more people with certain qualifications around, people that had certain experience, certain not just skills, right, but time around certain things, and also understandings of different things, which even spoke to the importance eventually of having not only a board of directors, but even having a board of advisors, right? And so these are people who didn't have the same power that the board of directors had, but they nonetheless were there to provide information, insight, understanding about things that, again, someone who is running the organization, or even the generation, right, that is running the organization, may not have the best grasp of things that a younger crowd might, right? So even not only was about, again, qualifications, but also just about, differences of opinion, which honestly, right, first of all, sounds kind of little complicated, but at the end of the day, it was like, having someone or having people who don't always see eye to eye in the same room, especially when trying to develop curriculum, programs, and so forth, for people who aren't going to have all the same story, and they're not all going to come from the same places. How useful it was for them to have a group of people that diversified, or rather had diverse opinions, had diverse experiences, so that when we go, we're going to try to tackle this group, we're going to have people who can really identify with being part of that group and saying, okay, this is the things that we struggle with. This is why, if we saw this flyer or we heard about this program, this is why we wouldn't come, right? We would need something that speaks more to these types of things. These types of wordings would grab our attention much more than what you guys currently have. And so things like that become more necessary as again, the organization begins to expand. But even when the organization is small, just like Mr. Bukta was saying, we have also run into clients that have struggled because they didn't have the board of directors, and everything was on the ED, right, to do it all. And if that is the case, then they end up being spread too thin, and only so much can be taken care of by this one individual who's running the organization. And so that's super important. I think even just from the standpoint of getting people around you that know other people that can help you continually be surrounded by supporters. One thing I know about being a lone wolf is that if you are oftentimes doing it alone, people get used to you doing it alone, and people aren't necessarily looking to provide any services or help or assistance, because they're like, that's what he or she does. That's their thing, But if you do have a number of people that are present, again, when you guys are meeting, it's like, hey, if there's any other way that we could get more people involved, that's a door we want to have open, for various reasons, whether it's finding employees to, take care of certain programs or take care of certain aspects of our business, or helping to find clients. Good thing we know people who know other people that can drive people, and potentially, and this came up in Ria Wong's book, but also raising the funds, right? A board of directors can and usually does have, as part of their job, is raising funds for the organization. And so if people are required to bring in a certain amount of money through each year, before they even join, they know this. You're bringing in people who say, well, I have a network, and my network is not going to be the stingiest network. I already know them. I know who is in there. And if I'm part of this board of directors, they're probably going to be willing to support me financially, because this is what we care about as a group, right? This is not just who I am and not just what I do, but the folks that I hang out with, the folks that I went to school with or worked with in these different capacities. They are the type that would also bring funds to something that I think is really important, such as this organization. So that is something that does come up in these conversations, even for Watisha, and I definitely love to hear from you as well, because it's another effort to get our organization more established, and it's not direct as it pertains to the services that we want to provide. But it is something that in the long run, we would be glad that we got the ball rolling early on it, because again, having certain people in our circle and around us can help our organization in a number of ways. Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad that he had brought that up. And so yeah, and I did put in the private chat our discussion with Vanessa Russell. We actually did have two trainings with her. So we do have two different ones, one in which she's focusing on the board of directors in particular. And in that, she is actually speaking about DEI as well. And so, again, talking about having a diverse group of people that are part of her board, people who don't understand each other necessarily, don't agree necessarily, but they all are around so they can provide insight into different demographics. And then the other meeting that we have with her is just kind of an overall meeting talking about her story. When did she start the organization? Why she started the organization? Challenges she faced and had to overcome, and of course how she overcame those. And so that one would be great for you all to check out as well. Let me see. I know if anyone has any questions, what teacher, let me know. I know that you didn't get to be on the meeting the whole time he was here. Did you have any thoughts or questions about what he was saying?
No, I think that rough part is just, I think it's something that I have to be aware of. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, if you don't do it, it won't get done type of thing. It's just
Mm-hmm.
trying to isolate yourself. It's just trying to find reliable people in your circle that's like-minded. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe just building that circle of people. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we try to bring along people that we've been connected to for so long, not realizing that those connections are probably going to help out because of another reason. That's what I'm learning. People that I used to go to the club, go to the club with, they're probably not going to be the most effective people when I'm trying to build my business team. People I used to go and turn up with and try to use younger, trying to jump and listen. They're not
Letitia,
so, you know.
yeah, I'm so sorry. It's so hard to hear you. I am trying. Um, I just know I can hardly hear. I don't know what's happening in the background, but it makes it really difficult to hear you.
I'm sorry, I'm at an event at Market Street Youth with my supervisor, so it might just be
Okay. Yeah. Again, I still struggle to hear. If you can write some of those things in the chat, I think that would probably be the best thing. But yeah, it was just really, really difficult to hear you. Yeah. Yeah. Again, I understand too, and I don't know if the music was in a closed space or if that was just music that was going on outside, but that was a lot. But I think what I did gather was you mentioned something about not being isolated, something about again taking care of what needs to be taken care of, which I totally get, and I think he even spoke to that just a little bit when he said that he had certain things that he wanted to have done that he saw need to be done early on, and it took about 9 years for some of these things to transpire. Whether we're talking about the HR team or having a different more people in fiscal, or even I know that for YCD we are just really getting a marketing team like up and running. And so with that being said, there are things that do take time and can take time for our organization. And so there does need to be a certain level of patience with the journey, right? I think the journey may want to be a 2 or 3 year thing that it gets done in that amount of time. And then we can move on to bigger things. But sometimes some things take a little bit longer than we expect to, and we know we do have to continue to push forward despite that. Um,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't even know, if I want to continue to do this. I'm just at that place right now, where if I continue, I'm going to have my own radio station, or I'm going to have my own TV, digital television.
Mhm.
If I'm going to keep going, it's going to actually have to be that or nothing at all.
Uh-huh.
Because what I'm doing right now, um, just feels like there's so much more that I should be doing with it. And a lot of people ask me like, what do you do? What do you do? And as long as people are still asking me that question, like, what do you do? It's never really mattered to me, but after a while, I start to want to just show them, you know,
Uh-huh.
like, okay, I have to really show you on a bigger level, because what I've been able to do so far, um, people have not paid attention. Like, what I do is like a mini television. It's like it was digital television before social media, before digital television. I was
Mhm.
doing it because I was actually creating it for the TV stations here locally in San Francisco. And San Francisco is one of the larger markets. We're in the top 10 markets in
Mhm.
the nation, right? And so when I did it for myself, people were like, oh no, but you're using other people's content. I'm not. I have non exclusive licensing agreements like other television stations do. Only
Mm.
I chose to go and collect and deal with other Black producers and other Black platforms.
Mhm.
So when we do it and it looks even better than BET, it's
Uh-huh.
it looks better than any Black television network you've ever seen, because you've never seen it.
Right, right.
And so it's either I do it on that level where I have to really go for the funding, go for the big dollars. And I've gone to Washington, D.C. to meet with the National Association of Black-owned Broadcasters. I've gone to Las Vegas to the ANA conventions, where I've talked directly with, you know, Procter and Gamble, Toyota, and all of these folks who can really give me the advertising dollars. But once I got there, and I realized, like, oh my God, I don't want to do that much. I
Mm.
like small. I like not having a board. I like doing it on this level, but it requires, it comes with some pros and cons. And so yeah, it's
Right.
personal. It's personal and custom. You have to customize your purpose and your mission. And
Right, right. Yeah. So again, just glad that one he gave us a chance to hear from him a little bit. He did say that we can try to get some more time with him, which I will definitely be trying to do for you all. I like what he was saying about um, let's see, I got diversify the portfolio. Again, getting funding from different sources. Annual events offer hand-to-hand money opportunity, um, which again can be easy or more difficult depending on our capacity. Getting to know funders on a deeper level, which I definitely thought was a great thing. Again, having opportunities, creating opportunities. Because it's one thing to say, "Oh, I'm out and about and I'm at different events." It's another thing that YCD does put on their own events, and we do have mixers and we do have people who work with YCD that show up, but also people who don't work for YCD that show up, that again may be funders or may be learning more about the organization. So they get to not only talk to Mr. Brookter per se, but even other leaders of the different programs within YCD. I'm also took note of him saying being authentic in who you are, which even again makes me think about the book we were just talking about and how our identity can shape the places that we go, the things that we do, and the places that we frequent, so that people are starting to recognize, oh, this is where we're likely to see Jermaine at. This is where, we're going to see Watisha. This is where we're going to see Alicia. Like, I am not surprised, because this is who they are, right? Who they are informs, how they're going to show up, where they're going to show up. So even for me, I noticed that, with me and my wife and our family, like, we go to certain events. There's places that we're going to be at. And if we're not there, people are going to be like, why weren't you there? And we'll be like, oh man, this is what came up, blah, blah, but we're going to be there next year. And they're like, okay, because when I think of you, or when I think of this event, I thought about you, and I thought about these other folks, right? And so I like the fact that he mentioned being authentic, because that definitely goes right along with what we were just discussing with the Atomic Habits book.
I definitely have my favorite places. I wanted to add, though, I like when he talked about having the capacity. Can you produce, and do you have the capacity to produce? That's huge.
That's true. That definitely is. And I think that that's really key, because there is a difference between what we want to do and what we can do. And I think that puts a big emphasis on who our team is, who's on our team, but it also puts a big emphasis on how we are actively preparing for larger opportunities. It's one thing to say, oh, we would love to have a grant for, let's say, $70,000 to cover this program or that program. And that's great. And the question that should also be running through our minds while that program is running is, how are we preparing now to receive $300,000 if $300,000 is available, so that we don't see a grant like that and go, we can't even handle that. We don't have the people yet. We don't have this, that. They don't know these things on how to manage this or how to manage that part of things. But if we are intentional about bringing people around and or training the people that we already have to become better at what they do, become more skilled at what they do, then a larger grant for the same type of cause would be attractive versus scary or what is that, petrifying.
Let me just add this to that. For those of us who have had relationships with the city now, it seems.
Say that again. I'm sorry. What's happening?
Sounds like a voice message or something you recorded is playing in the meeting.
Really?
Yeah. A conversation that you had, Jermaine, is something that was recorded that's playing right now that I can hear.
Interesting. I don't
hear anything.
Yeah.
Or somebody's playing a record. Your biggest concern is the breakout room. Sounds like Naya, it might be something that you're playing.
Can you still hear it?
I don't hear anything personally.
Could it be another tab?
Yeah, I don't have it open.
Okay, you guys hear me? So the recording is a conversation between you and Naya.
Really?
You probably should sign out and then sign back in, because I can totally hear it. Actually, it's time for me to go to Mega Black. but it's still playing whatever it is.
Okay. Yeah. I don't
It
know.
sounds like you guys were preparing for a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
It could be the
and it's still
link
playing
to the
right
Vanessa
now.
Russell.
Okay, I'm gonna log out and go hit up makeup. Oh my-
Okay.
Yeah, it's still going, you guys. Okay, take care. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good one.
Maybe ask Tisha if she can hear it. Tish.
No, no, I thought it was, I was like, I wanted to make sure it wasn't my background. And so I cleared all my apps out because I know where I'm at is kind of crazy. But I have nothing in my background. So it's definitely something going on, you know.
You- So you can't hear Jermaine talking right now?
I can.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah. I guess we can end this now because yeah, I don't know what to do, but we can try to figure it out.
Yeah, you're saying it might be hard to hear some people, especially when we're using the whole space and da da da. Still going, Jermaine. I'm sorry.
That's crazy.
Now Naya's asking what time. Yeah. Anyway, I would love to stay, but since we're having the interference, then I do need to get to Megan back. Okay,
Okay.
guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. See you next time. Thank you.
All right. Now I'm struggling to find where we were.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Hmm. Hmm. All right. So, and do you still hear things, Letitia?
No, I just hear you.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And Naya, has anything come to mind for you? What that could have been, or what that is?
The only thing I can think of is the Vanessa Russell link.
Uh-huh.
It probably popped up because I haven't been hearing anything.
Yeah, I haven't either. Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah. The only thing I wanted to add that he mentioned was
Well, now you're kind of, you have a really bad, I hear a really bad echo now. Like you will say something and then it'll sound like,
really. I did hear it for a second myself. I don't hear it currently. Um, but he did mention that he said he picked up golf during COVID, which has and does allow for other conversations in other capacities, um, which again even makes me think about how we can pick up other hobbies, other skills, other interests that can allow us to be in other spaces that could help us with the fundraising, right? What I do know is I have heard that the golf course is a place where a lot of deals are made. I have heard and seen, in different movies or documentaries where people say, that is where a lot of people meet, and so it is and could be useful for us to learn other skills like this, whether it's golf or something else. Again, it even makes me again think about what we were talking about earlier of the identity, because when we have a certain identity, there are a number of things that we would pick up, a number of things that we do pick up. When it's simply one habit, it's like a one-off, so to speak. That we do that. I did that at one point in time. But if it's who we are finds ourselves in many different spaces. We find ourselves in many different areas because different areas relate to who we are. I definitely think about my wife was looking on the internet this morning, and she found a concert called. Well, I won't say what it's called because I'll probably mess it up. But it was a series of folks that will be performing in, I guess, Napa in a number of weeks. And it was like, man, we got to go there sometime. Now, we probably can't go there, as fast as we want to go. But in time, we will find ourselves in these spaces because those are the types of spaces that we enjoy, right? And so if there are things along with our identity where we say, this is the type of thing that I would do, it would behoove us to take the time to spend time in those different environments because, like I said, we never know where we can do fundraising differently, where we can meet and network with people differently, and how that can impact our business for our own benefit. And so my baby is starting to wake up and my wife just went to work. So I do have to run as well. But again, I would encourage you all to continue to read, to go to move on to chapter 3. And Watisha, have you been to the office yet? Have you been able to pick up the copy?
Yes, I have it.
Okay, awesome. So
And
yeah, all that.
I actually have that book at home already.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah, so I just had never never read it before, and I had to start listening to it on the actual audio when you told me, only because I have that access. But once I started reading it, I was like, wow, the narrative of sharing your own story first to provide proof and understanding of what due diligence look like even after uh, fumbling or failure or depression or not feeling too confident about what you're doing, that
Mm-hmm.
there's always room to there's always room to grow and to change things around. And one thing, like we were just talking about, the environment are things that we like to do. His love for the team that he was playing on, even though it was a small position when he first got to that college, it
Mm-hmm.
sparked something in him that ultimately led to all these great accomplishments. That if he really had kept looking at what happened when his friend hit him with the bat, he would have still been stuck in that time 8 years prior. So I, I really appreciate being able to listen to that from that perspective. Because sometimes, like I was saying earlier, I don't know if you can hear me, we're always looking for the aha moment,
Mm-hmm.
not understanding that the process is the best part of it because that's where you learn, that's where you fail, that's where you can make mistakes, that's where new ideas come up, that's where creativity come up. This is where you learn to stretch yourself. This is where you meet new people. You learn to cut people off. You learn and build new habits. You learn to leave some habits alone. You just learn to grow in the process. But we're always trying to get from here to here, that sometimes we miss all those intricate things in the middle. And so after reading the book, I started to pay attention of me getting home every day.
Mm-hmm.
Said, let me make a habit of not opening my phone, or let me make a habit of just not going straight into trying to do some work or do the homework or get something out the way. Let me really enjoy this ride. And I
Mm-hmm.
noticed that 10 minutes into the ride, my children were asleep. they're asleep when we get home normally, but I just didn't realize how quick they fell asleep. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I noticed some things on AV that I hadn't seen even develop, and I've been going on this freeway for years. But because I'm just always trying to get from San Francisco to Sassoon, so much stuff has happened in between that time that I've missed because I wasn't paying attention and focusing. So that's what I got out of all of it, and that's what I was trying to say earlier.
Word. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Definitely allowing us to more closely observe what we are doing, what we're not doing. And again, that definitely will help us along down the line as we begin to put together the types of things that we want to do with our time, that it will help us along our journey. Um, but yeah, like I said, I have to run. But yeah, continue to read through chapter 3 for next week, and we will be connecting with you all. Early next week.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Have a great day, and I hope the baby gets better soon.
Thank you. You too. Have a good one.